Hello everyone, welcome to Comix Rant Mini. My name is Arvin Bautista and this channel is about me just geeking out about comics and sharing my love for them with everybody. I love comics. You can notice from my channel, I don't put out a lot of content, quote unquote content. Fortunately, I don't rely on this as my main financial income. But I do love comics so much that I just want to talk about it. Anyway, in this episode, we will talk about Haruki Murakami Manga Stories. So I'm a total illiterate. I didn't know who Haruki Murakami was, but he's this author that's gotten a lot of stories published over the years, and everybody loves his work. This is one of the first, I could be wrong, but this is a compilation of his short stories turned into manga format. And it's adapted by Jean-Christophe Deveney, and illustrations are by PMGL. I don't really do a lot of research onto these things. I remember names, but I don't dig into websites to find out dirt on them or even what PMGL means. Maybe I should. But anyway, I love this work. This is what it boils down to. So I know creators for what they've done in the medium and not so much what they've done as human beings, fortunately. Anyway, this book collects Super Frog Saves Tokyo, Where I'm Likely to Find It, Birthday Girl, and The Seventh Man, published by Tuttle. I borrowed mine from the library. This is how I find a lot of my comics nowadays, and I just dip into all sorts of genres because of it. I just find something, I like it, and I pick it out, it looks great, and then I read it. And this channel is hopefully gonna do a lot of that. So I'm just gonna start flipping through things. I feel like comics are so visual. I can write an essay about how awesome these stories are, but I think it's up to you guys to decide if you like it or not, but if I just flip through it, if you browse through a book. What's so eye-catching about this book to me is PMGL does, he shifts his style. He or she shifts his style and different mediums per story. So this is one look for one of them. It's got this like colored pencil kind of look. And then another one is this watercolory kind of look. This is more, I think, is more digital colors, stylized faces, stylized anatomy, everything. And this is on black and white. So the first one is Super Frog Saves Tokyo. This is the one that kind of grabbed me, and obviously this is the headliner for this book. But all the short stories are really fantastic. But it's about a very normal guy in Japan that is asked by this giant frog that shows up in his house to save Tokyo. And it's got like notes of kaiju Godzilla style, but a lot of these stories are about character explorations, character studies, and it's really fun, and it's done really quickly. Within the context of the short stories. So for me, I love short stories. It's one of my favorites. Anthologies are one of my favorites, even though it doesn't really sell very well in comic book format, right? Colors are great. I feel like it must look a little brighter in digital, but it looks good. It's got like this Super Frog is darker in print, but I think it's kind of cool. It kind of works for the story. Very nice faces going on per character. Very distinct style that I just kind of love. Let's try not to spoil that. Cool, like sound effects. I think that's because these guys that adapted it are not Japanese. There is no like, well, I could be wrong. It could be in Japanese and this text could look different. But it looks good. I like that the sound effects, the onomatopoeia is kept with how they probably sounded like in Japanese, or would sound like in Japanese. Pachi, 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 zoro, zoro, zoro. The next one is like this detective noir story about a missing person. And it's a character study, and this PI is an interesting character, and it's all set just in this high-rise in Tokyo, in Japan, or in Japan at the very least. I'm not sure which city. Interesting cast of characters that he runs into, and a funny way of a lot of just very entertaining story beats. It doesn't go anywhere, not really, right? Like, it's not like these stories aren't set up to be like these explosive, action-packed stories, but they are really interesting, because by the end of these short stories, there's more to them. And they kind of all have this slightly fantastical, magical, sci-fi, or even horror elements to them, but that's not the point of them. They're there as a tool to kind of push certain ideas about humanity, or just themes like chasing your dreams, or self-worth, like things like that. It gets deep, but it doesn't have to be. It's entertaining as it is, and I think that's why these stories are so popular. The next one is Birthday Girl, and it's a flashback about an older woman thinking into her past, and she works as a waitress. The style is cool, very flat colors. A lot more detail to kind of carry the story, but it looks great. So this is about like this mysterious guy, the owner of this restaurant she works for, and I don't think it'll ruin it, but I won't say anymore. But it's a mysterious guy she works for, and she meets him, let's say, right? And it's told in flashback, so already it's interesting because these are playing, the flashback scenes are drawn a little different too. It's kind of cool. It's got this inky, brushy look as opposed to like this cleaner line. I appreciate the change in styles, but it's also not so jarring. They seem to work because it's still the one guy drawing it. But it's not such a giant leap where it sticks out too much, or it doesn't complement each other, right? That can work also as a technique, but I kind of like how he plays it off here. In any case, it's interesting to see these two stories work, where she is in the future and the past recounting this tale, because now you're like, I wonder what happened in the past. As these things are being told, it gets more interesting, and it resolves really nicely. Again, about human. I'd like to say it's about like dreams. What would you like for the future for yourself? And it's got a good conclusion to it. And then the next one is The Seventh Man. This has a more, I guess, horror, supernatural bend to it. But it's actually about friendship and childhood. And, it's got, again, different style. This is the one that's more color pencil-y. Oops, sorry, keep knocking my camera. And it's got this is from the front page, and it's a really nice one. But, it's got this old school, this is set up, I guess, in wartime, around the wartime Japan. In a small town, and it's kind of nice. I like the setting. I like, attention to detail, like these radios, these clocks, all that. The electric fan, and it looks great. But yes, there's like some crazy stuff that happens. Again, not quite the focus. And I think what's expertly done is it does carry this genre all the way through, right? Like, yeah, I've said that it's about character studies, these books, or these short stories. But this one does have more of that all the way through into the story. But by the end, you're like, oh, okay, that's what this is about. And it's kind of like got this modern approach to, creepy teeth, right? I won't spoil it. Actually, I probably cannot spoil it this way. But modern approach to horror, I think, where it doesn't just stick to jump scares. Oh no, I shouldn't say it's modern, but that technique's been around, right? It doesn't just stick with jump scares. It actually uses the genre as a tool to dive deeper into what the story is trying to talk about. So let me just flip through some more of these so you guys can see. This is what I usually do at libraries. I think this book had me at Super Frog. I'm a sci-fi fan in the vein of Twilight Zone, those old Twilight Zone black and whites, where it just has to have that one fantastical thing, in this case, a giant talking frog. And I loved how it would make social commentary on things. Oh, I forgot to say, this was where I'm likely to find it. But yeah, PMGL does like, this style is more, well, this, okay, I didn't even notice this until I'm looking at it now. But, so this is a flashback right here. And he chooses a different style for this as well. It's more hatchy. Whereas this is the more, I mean, it's black and white. But, you know, the application of color, he's not relying on hatching or cross-hatching for that one. So this is the flashback, and this is the present as he's talking. So let me just flip through that. I think once I saw this in the library, it kind of made me jazzed up, kind of charged me to do my own stuff. So I'm working on my own book. And it is a bunch of short stories that I did in college. And I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, is this a good idea to make different styles for each short story? And, you know, this guy just pulls it off. You know, he even adds color at the end of this. And it's all within the context of storytelling. So it's really fun for me to flip through this. And they're pretty distinct. These styles are pretty distinct, right? That you know you're in a different story, but it is still kind of his style. Look at this guy. This guy's kind of hilarious looking. Takes place in all sorts of time periods, so that's also kind of cool. And you know, it like I cannot. It's like a quote unquote small book, but you know, as I'm drawing mine right now, it's like, oh man, this is like quite a lot of work. Quite a lot of work. And I don't know if I'd be able to pull it off, to be honest with you. But it is encouraging. It is encouraging to see someone do it. I think, you know, I'm reading Echolands by J.H. Williams III as well. And he does certain things where he switches styles. So a different approach in that book. Yeah, this one has like some nice subtle, like I like the coloring. It's like memory, right? Or like old photos, especially with that kind of prop design that he has, and like the city that this boy lives in, the trees, all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, I hope you guys will give this book a look. I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly, I wasn't really expecting much from it. Not like I picked it up because I hated it. But it just looked interesting. I picked it up, read it, and found it to be a book that I would love to have on my bookshelf as well, if my wife would let me. I have too many books. Anyway, that's it for today. This is Haruki Murakami's Manga Stories. And check it out. And that's it for today's episode of Comix Rant. mini.